The Last Guest. Mason had heard the rumors about the old Oakwood Hotel for years. Once a grand establishment, it was now a decaying relic, abandoned and forgotten on the edge of town. The locals whispered that it was haunted, cursed by the souls of those who had mysteriously disappeared within its walls. But Mason didn't believe in ghosts or curses. To him, the hotel was just an interesting piece of history, a perfect subject for his blog on urban exploration. On a stormy night, he decided to spend the night there, determined to debunk the myths. Armed with a flashlight, his camera, and a sense of adventure, he made his way to the hotel. The building loomed in the darkness, its windows shattered, its once majestic facade now crumbling and covered in ivy. Thunder rumbled overhead as he pushed open the heavy, creaking door. The lobby was eerily preserved, as if frozen in time. Dust-covered furniture lay scattered, and the chandelier above hung crooked, swaying slightly in the cold draft. Mason's footsteps echoed in the emptiness as he moved deeper into the hotel. The air was thick with the scent of mildew and something else, something metallic, like old blood. Undeterred, Mason began exploring the rooms, documenting everything with his camera. The hotel was vast, with endless hallways that seemed to stretch on forever. Each room was a snapshot of a forgotten era. Dusty beds, cracked mirrors, and rotting wallpaper peeling away in strips. But there was something unsettling about the place. The shadows seemed to move on their own, and the silence was oppressive, as if the hotel itself was holding its breath. As he ventured further, Mason began to notice strange things. Doors that were open moments before were now closed. Faint whispers echoed from rooms he had just checked, but they would fall silent as soon as he approached. His camera would glitch, showing static or strange, fleeting images that he couldn't quite make out. Still, Mason pressed on, convinced it was just his imagination playing tricks on him. That was until he found room 217. The door was slightly ajar, a dim light flickering inside. Curious, Mason pushed the door open and stepped in. The room was different from the others, cleaner, almost as if it had been recently occupied. The bed was made, and a suitcase lay open on the floor, filled with clothes that looked new. On the nightstand, a half-empty glass of water sat next to an old-fashioned key. Mason's heart raced as he picked up the key. It felt unnervingly cold in his hand. But before he could examine it further, the door slammed shut behind him. Startled, he turned around, but the door wouldn't budge. The temperature in the room plummeted, and his breath came out in visible puffs. Suddenly, the old rotary phone on the nightstand rang, its shrill tone cutting through the silence. Hesitantly, Mason picked up the receiver. For a moment, there was nothing but static on the other end. Then a voice, barely a whisper, crackle, through, "You shouldn't be here." Mason dropped the phone, his hands trembling. The light in the room flickered and went out, plunging him into darkness. He fumbled for his flashlight, but it wouldn't turn on. Panic set in as he felt something brush past him cold, unseen hands grazing his skin. The whispers were back, louder now, circling him, taunting him. Desperate, Mason pounded on the door, but it remained locked. He could feel the presence closing in, the air thick with malice. The whispers grew into a cacophony of voices, all repeating the same words. "You're the last guest. The last guest." Then, just as suddenly as it began, the noise stopped. The door creaked open on its own, revealing the dark hallway beyond. Mason didn't hesitate. He bolted out of the room and raced down the stairs, his pulse pounding in his ears. He didn't stop running until he burst out of the hotel and into the stormy night. But as he caught his breath outside, drenched in rain, something felt wrong. The town lights were gone. The street he had come from was replaced by dense woods. And when he turned back to look at the hotel, it wasn't the decrepit, abandoned building he had entered. It was pristine, its windows glowing warmly, as if the last century had never happened. Mason's heart sank as he realized the horrifying truth. He was no longer in his world. The Oakwood Hotel had taken him, just as it had taken so many before. Inside, in room 217, the rotary phone began to ring again. Waiting for the next unfortunate guest to answer,